So these are volunteers all across the country. We call them our lookouts because they're looking out for opportunities for us, but they're also looking out over the federal budget and helping to educate their fellow Americans about federal budget policy and the need for it to be sustainable over the long term. So that has fiscal lookouts doing a wide variety of things. They help members of Congress do town hall meetings. They run experiential exercises for us. We have this thing that we've talked about oftentimes on the show, Principles and Priorities, where citizens can dive in deep and try to tackle the budget issues themselves by assembling their own federal budget issues. And then also, we give chart talks, speak to Rotary clubs, Kiwanis clubs around the country. So there's sort of an organizing responsibility as well. But the biggest responsibility that Fiscal Lookout has, and I think one of the reasons, and I'm interested to hear why Brad was attracted to the Concord Coalition to do this, because I think it may be for this reason, and it is simply to educate our fellow citizens about these very important issues.
All right, so Brad, you're up. I'm curious as well. What drew you to getting involved with the Concord Coalition and to, take it a step further and actually volunteer and become a fiscal lookout? I recall, before you answer, you and I going back and forth. I think it was on Twitter, on social media, about fiscal policy issues and maybe even the podcast. So I am intrigued. What drew you to us, and what made you want to step up to the plate?
Well, Alaskans for Sustainable Budgets goes back to about 2010, when Alaska started facing some fiscal issues on our own, some fiscal challenges on our own, and we became more active as those developed over the span of the last 8 years. We've run through something like $20 billion of savings as we've tried to sustain spending without responding, without doing anything on the revenue side. As we spent a lot of time on Alaskans for Sustainable Budgets and on Alaska issues, I became more and more intrigued with federal issues and started looking for federal groups similar to ours at the state level that were active on these issues at the federal level. And I think the thing that really energized me, frankly, was the Tax Act of 2017, when, notwithstanding the fact that we were already in a fiscal situation, a terrible fiscal situation federally, we sort of turbocharged it by dropping revenues without dropping spending at the same time, and in fact, subsequently, have increased spending. So it's a progression from starting out as being concerned about focus on Alaska issues, and then taking that, sort of riding that up and learning more and more about fiscal issues, and then sort of entering the federal area when I saw the Tax Act.